Sorry about that, folks. Ran upstairs to go grab a delivery that just arrived. My bad for starting just a little bit late, but you didn't miss anything. Nothing has officially started yet on the D&D side. But yeah, we should be good to start here in just a second. We're doing our usual where we wait for the countdown to complete. So just give that a sec, and then we should be good to go here. So it's just doing its typical countdown. And again, as we know, we can't showcase that on the screen because if we do, it'll get demonetized immediately by YouTube, which is stupid, but that's how it works. I don't know why I have to disconnect my Twitch and my YouTube every time I want to utilize this streaming bot, but it does seem to like to do that. So let's go ahead and connect YouTube here real quick. It's supposed to just work seamlessly, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. All right. How's everybody doing on this Thursday morning? Let us see. I did reach out to a seller, a retailer, like a distributor rather, for the pinball machine. It's not been like confirmed, but I have a conversation in the process there. So that's about the extent of it. Is this working? I'll have to see if our chatbot will update from with what you guys. Somebody throw something out there. Let's see if it'll update. I don't know why it's locked in from last night's conversation, but we'll see if we can't get this thing to move. Test. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it's updating. Thank you, guys. Just testing to make sure that that works. But no, pinball machine. I have received like an initial email, like with a potential invoice. But I haven't gone through anything. It is not a small amount, as I'm sure you can be aware. The limited edition one is the one I would obviously want to get. It's a lot of money. So yeah, we may be doing some streams and like throw a goal up on screen, try to do a little bit of crowdfunding. But we are in the countdown now, by the way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And once we're good, I'll switch us over.
Talk about
here we
Monstrosities in D&D. This is a collection of some of the most famous D&D monsters in this category. Like this includes owlbear still.
Yeah.
This includes lycanthropy.
Yeah. Rust monsters.
Which is new, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's the big change. So yeah, rust monsters, which the art is fantastic because you're seeing how much we hate rust monsters in that illustration. Lycanthropy, let's talk about that. Let's talk about werewolves. Let's talk about wares.
So before we dive in there, I think just for if people are wondering what the heck is this category?
Yeah, it's because it's got variety.
So the monstrosity category is the category for classic monsters, the chimera, the hydra, things that, in the storybook of, if it's not a dragon, specifically, or one of the other very distinctive creature types, it's like that classic monster is a monstrosity.
Rock.
And
also, by the way, just in case anybody missed that, lycanthropes were always humanoids with like the lycanthropy like subtext. So them being monstrosities is a big shift.
One of the few things that unites them is many of them were either crafted or distorted by magic.
Yeah.
So as you go through, you'll see that often the one thread that they have in common is like this creature, like with the owl bear was, a wizard did it.
Yeah.
Or this used to be another type of creature, but because of a curse,
Kenku?
plunging into this other plane of existence or some.
Does that mean Kenkus are now monstrosities? Because that's, I mean, unless there's another, like, crow-like looking creature, which that seems to be what that was.
Something else, it became this other creature. And
Like a lot of mutations, like almost like
it could be
magical
Were-Raven
radiation in some cases,
Yes.
or experiments.
Or mythical creatures like the guardians of the gods. I mean, this is the category for like Medusas, for Hydra.
Weren't Medusa's elementals previously? I thought.
For basilisks, like
Also, male, female Medusa there, artificially there. I like we've kind of got like coral snakes for this dude's hair.
those sort of mythological creatures, things that are animals with the special abilities, that are mashups of creatures, or something that could be a real creature, but just from some place you haven't been before.
Right.
And with that in mind, with that big vision for Monstrosities, that this is the category of monster that was shaped by magic, whether again the magic of the gods or the magic of a mortal, or somehow mutated by magic. That is one of the big reasons why we moved were-creatures into this category. We previously had them as humanoids, and that was, as we reconsidered the creature types of everything in the monster manual, we realized that was a funny choice, because sure, the were-creatures all started as humanoids, but they're not humanoids anymore.
Right.
And we did that not only for story reasons, but for mechanical reasons, because there are a number of things in the game that specifically affect only humanoids, and we did not want those things affecting were-creatures.
Right.
Because were-creatures, part of what's special about them is they're now strange.
They're other.
They're other. Part of often a lot of classic were-creature stories is one of the first hints that something is off is the person might look human or some other type of humanoid, but things are weird around them.
Yeah, things don't apply. Like like a dog classically growling at a person. A whole person maybe not doing what it should be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they now are in this category, and they have all been redesigned.
Good were-tiger
One of
art.
the big changes for all of the were-creatures is the curse that they apply.
Here we go.
Is now inside each stat block. It used to be that the were-creatures would apply what was called the Curse of Lycanthropy, and then you would need to go look elsewhere in the monster manual to find out what the heck that did.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that anymore. Each were-creature stat block tells you what happens if you are the unfortunate recipient of that curse. And that is a common theme in the book, where we looked for places to make the DM's life easier by folding information that used to exist outside the stat block into the stat block. We did the same thing with the best lair actions. Many of those have, with creatures that have lairs, those actions are now inside those creatures' stat blocks, often with the requirement that the creature be in the lair to use that action. So
I'm going to pause for a second, answer a couple of things. Yes, a hold person will no longer work on a lycanthrope because they are no longer considered a person, as in a humanoid. They are a monstrosity, which means only hold monster, charm monster. Those things would work on them. So the Gorgon Medusa conversation, a Gorgon is that big steel bull in D&D, which is separate from a Medusa. Yes, I know Medusa is the name of a character. She was a Gorgon in Greek mythology. Medusa is a type of monster in D&D. Also, real quick, to jump back to the conversation about the druid in the D&D movie being able to wild shape into an owlbear, one thing that I think is never really touched on is when they interact with that red wizard in the movie, she never refers to them as a druid. She refers to them as a wild shape. So I'm wondering if that was like a unique subclass or something of druid, potentially. All right, let's keep going.
So again, with the were-creatures, DMs, you don't have to go hunting to find out, well, what happens if this person got bit by the werewolf? All the information you need for that is in the stat block.
I feel like monstrosities have existed in mythology for so long simply because that's the easiest thing to do early on in our culture is to, this monster, let's slap them together and see how it works.
Right.
Well, there's definitely so many mythical creatures in this, but there's so many creatures that are mythic in a D&D sense as well, that are just legendary D&D creatures, like mimics, rust monsters, sturges, like all of these are so,
that sturge art
if
is
you rattle
terrifying.
off what's a D&D monster,
Yeah.
you're gonna say dragon. But past dragon,
Yeah.
some of these monsters are like some of the oldest and some of the most storied D&D monsters. What there are, I mean, the mimic with just like, here's a chest, but it's going to eat you, comes out of this category.
And we talked about this before, but the art really thoroughly explains it doesn't just have to be a chest.
Yes.
Like turning anything to a mimic is incredibly fun. You can turn a house into a mimic, a closet, an outhouse.
Honestly, the best mimic I think still is the potion bottle mimic, or it's the potion inside the potion bottle, and they don't find out till the last second when they need that potion that they had with them the whole time as a mimic.
It doesn't. I turned a boat once into a mimic for fun.
I'm going to sit here for a moment in existential dread of the outhouse mimic.
Yeah.
I generally don't use
It's not good.
outhouses, so
It's literally not a good way to go.
Shame on you, sir.
But that is one of the things where one of the challenges of like being a DM and like having that sort of creative breadth, or like a mimic can be anything. That's sort of paralyzing. That's just sort of like, wow, anything.
Yeah.
And you just sort of get stuck there in many cases. Yeah. This was a case where, for the mimic, I love this particular page of the monster manual, not just because it gives you the mimic, which is just great and a ton of fun, but then the art for it. We wanted to show you the mimic as chest, but then in that piece, you'll see the mimic as chair, as portrait, as this.
Yeah, there's some really cool art here.
As that, as the other thing. And then even in the narrative text, we describe to you, okay, a mimic can turn into these things, but let's just give you a list of just sort of like, here's some things a mimic might turn into. And like some of them are quirky, some of them are fun, some of them are funny, but then some of them are sort of terrifying. So we really hope to, now that we've sort of got some of these idea starters to DMs, that DMs will be like, yeah, I like that, and that, but wouldn't this be messed up?
People are also going to see some monsters similar to the were creatures that used to be in other categories that have also moved over to the monstrosity category. And so, for instance, quaggoths used to be humanoids, even though they are, again, a distorted version.
Very distorted, yeah.
And so now quaggoths are rightly in the monstrosity category, and the base quaggoth has been joined by the quaggoth thonot. This is another example of where we took something that was a suggested variant in the 2014 Monster Manual and turned it into a brand new stat block here. You'll even find Kenku, the Kenku stat block.
Okay,
in the
so
Monster
we were
Manual
right.
Is also now in the monstrosity category, because again, this is the category for things that used to be something else and were cursed or transformed into this current place. Now, there are a few other creatures in the book that also used to be something else and got transformed, but are in other categories because of the specific origin involved. Here I'm thinking specifically of gnolls, where gnolls now are in the fiend category,
Which makes a lot of sense.
rather than in the monstrosity category. And so you will see a number of creatures where they're in this category where their story and their creature type now make more sense. And as is the case throughout the book, and that, like I described with the quaggoth, where before there was just one, there's now two. Like another example of this in the monstrosity category is the cockatrice. Before there was just the wee little cockatrice.
Yeah.
Well, we also wanted a higher CR and more terrifying one that isn't chicken size. And so now we have the cockatrice regent, which is quite
weird art, but all right.
large and can wreck you. and so they're, again, with the axe beak, we have the regular axe beak, but we also have a giant axe beak. You're going to have a lot of fun options to play with as you look in this category of classic monsters.
So you bring up a question here in chat. Does this mean player created Kenku are monstrosities instead of humanoids? It's weird because this is a thing where like the species hasn't been updated, but the monster has. So it's hard to say. But I think we're starting to see something here. They've mentioned several instances of monstrosities here being shifted to, or once were humanoids shifted to monstrosities. They mentioned that gnolls are fiends now. They mentioned that kobolds are dragons now. I'm wondering if we're going to see anything that's basically not an NPC, right? Like not like a guard or a bandit or whatever. Everything else has shifted to a non-humanoid stat block type or like qualification. So now you're only going to see everything in the monster manual that is a monster per se is now qualified as a non-humanoid in some way. And then every NPC, like bandit, like guard, like knight, all of those will be humanoids. So to some degree, like that, I guess in some instances, nerfs hold person and nerfs charm person. But then again, that if you're able to charm them or hold them, they are considered a humanoid, not like a doppelganger or whatever else. We'll have to see, but they've mentioned several instances of these things that once were humanoids are now something else. So the other ones I think we'd probably have to hold out to see more on, I guess, would be like our Kokra, right? They were a humanoid, I believe, in 2014, as were lizard folk. So I think we'll have to see if those get tweaked or updated to something else.
I still remember Chris realizing as he was looking through the book, oh, one of the most powerful petrifying effects in the monster manual now comes out of this giant-sized cockatrice.
Yes.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
This also includes like some fan favorites like the Doppelganger,
Yeah.
Displacer
Yes.
Beast. What is it about the Displacer Beast that is like so beloved? I mean, it even made it into the movie.
It's also one of the monsters that have been in the game since the beginning. And you mentioned this earlier, Wes, that many of the monsters in this category have been in the game since the first edition monster manual. And in fact, I bet if we went through the different creature type categories, with the exception of, maybe like dragons and giants, yep. Most of those creatures have also been in there since the first edition monster manual. But I bet the monstrosity category it's in the running at least as having among the most creatures that go all the way back to the first monster manual. You're going to see, as you go through the list, I mean, the harpy is in this category. So many classic monsters,
A male
not only
harpy?
from D&D,
Yeah, I
but
guess
from real-world folklore, are here in this category. All of them also tuned up, like we have done with dragons, undead, and all of the other creature types, with
Death
new
Dog.
functionality, ways that we could also make the monsters easier to
Is that the new art for the Ettercap? Woof.
use in play. Even we mentioned the rust monster earlier because of the art showing it doing what it does, which no one wants to have done to their stuff, to have it rusted away. But even the rust monster's functionality has again been tuned up to make it a bit easier for the DM to use and play.
This also has some of the biggest heavy hitters in D&D. We've got the Trask is a monstrosity. The Kraken is a monstrosity.
And the Tarask is the highest CR creature in the book.
Yeah.
And the Tarask and the Kraken are both Titans. We talked in our overview video for the book that there are more Titans in the book, but the monstrosity category is the sort of home category for some of the most classic Titans, which makes sense because, again, a Titan is a creature that has been
Love
shaped
this new
or created
Kraken
by
art.
godly magic.
I mean, this includes our Fey spiders, our griffins, like you said, the harpy, the hook horror, which I've always hated, in a nice way.
Yeah.
The tricrine, which I always loved.
Were they
Umber
always?
Hulks are in there.
Umber Hulks are in here. Yuan-Ti, like it is.
You want? Interesting.
It's probably one of the more diversified categories of monsters in D&D.
Yeah.
But it makes sense for all of these to be here. There's a primeval owlbear. Is that new?
That's brand new.
Yeah.
Tell me about the primeval owlbear.
So the primeval owlbear, in some ways, could be the mascot for the monstrosity section because
If it was a football team.
yes, because we've taken the owlbear, which already could be the mascot for the monstrosity creature type, and what we wanted was an owlbear that was more powerful, so that you could meet owlbears at higher CRs. But then we also had some fun. Where in our initial design of the primeval owlbear, which is a CR7 owlbear, we had given it a sort of glide functionality, so that unlike a regular owlbear, it could actually like jump off out of a tree or a cliff and sort of
Baldur's
glide down
Gate
to
much?
safety,
Terrifying.
almost with the feather fall like quality. But as we developed the monster, we realized we could actually get the same functionality of it can glide down from a height by giving it a fly speed. But then we thought, wouldn't it be just a delight to give a creature a fly speed of 5 feet? and so the primeval owlbear is the banner creature for anyone who's just learned to fly. So this is the owlbear that is
So sad.
That is sad and adorably flapping its wings, and so yes, with its 5-foot fly speed.
It's a huge monstrosity, so it's a big guy. It's not going to go fast.
5 foot
Don't
slice.
laugh for long. As soon as those feet
No,
hit,
'cause it's
hit
coming.
ground.
Oh, absolutely.
So this fly speed is obviously not for most tactical purposes.
Yeah.
And this was on purpose, because this was not designed to be a creature that's flying around the battlefield. No, it's largely there for story reasons, that, if it needs to leap out of, off a cliff or out of a tree and like halt its fall with some flight,
I guess it
this
could do
creature
that,
can
yeah.
do that. And if it hilariously wants to fly a great distance, yes, it can. And our joke has been that, yes, if for some reason a herd of primeval owlbears wanted to fly long distance, the guards...
Like buffalo going over a cliff.
Yes, but the guards in the watchtower would see, oh my gosh, there's something coming on the horizon. You come back a week later, you look through your spyglass again.
It's still on its way.
It does not seem to have gotten any closer.
Still terrifying though.
And if those guards aren't paying attention on the top of that watchtower,
Yeah.
it can get them.
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah.
Exactly.
I actually love that. And this includes purple worms, which I always have a fondness for.
Absolutely.
Do they still poop gems?
Pooped. Let's not get into the details of what is passing.
What does it poop?
What you do in your campaign is
Todd.
completely up to you.
That
You
is
are the
between
DM.
you and your players, sir.
So he's got a lot of, we had these purple worms, then he's talking about outhouse mimics. I don't know, man.
We do not spend a lot of time on the scatological details of the monsters in the book. We leave that for your pleasure.
Just checking.
And you absolutely can still end up inside a purple worm.
100%. So maybe you're players.
And that might be, the players may be the poop.
Yes.
And we've got bullets and we've got bullet pup.
Yes. We wanted to have a smaller bullet that was speedier,
Such a
and
cutie.
vaguely cute, but also terrifying. And that led to us creating the bullet pup.
This is kind of a theme actually in this monster manual. There's a little bit, because there's parts
want
where
one.
we talked, we just had the dragon video come out, and people argued against this concept. We said like some of these wormlings are not cute, and people are like, no, still cute, deadly but cute. And that's the new kind of category that we're seeing emerge here. Are things that will actively melt your face off, but also cute.
Yes.
Well, it's also reflected in the name, because we went back and forth on what do we call the little Bulettes, because it's like, yeah, we could do juvenile
Call it Jeff.
Bulette or whatever have you, but we decided to riff off of the land shark idea, where it's just like, all right, well, what do they call young sharks? We looked it up, and sure enough,
pups,
a
yeah.
young shark is called a pup.
Yummy, yummy indeed.
And there we go.
And it can eat you.
And it can eat you. And it's a shark.
Little Bill's a good
I
one
guess
too.
one of the most iconic is the Drider. The Drider is included in this category as well.
Absolutely, because again, it follows the meta story of creatures that have been created or transformed by magic. And a Drider is an elf who has been distorted by the magic of Lolth into its new form, and the Drider has been redesigned. We have
The art for the Drider is good. It is basically, it's not like a huge change. I'd say that's probably one of the ones, that and the Purple Worm seem to be the most similar to their art there.
given the Drider a number of new abilities, so that the Drider is now going to be terrifying both up close and at range with some new magical abilities.
What those eight
I
legs
really
do,
do
indeed.
hate Driders though. Like there's a human body, a human half on top of a spider, just like it makes me ick right now to this day. I've been dealing with these monsters for like 30 years. I'm still very uncomfortable with Driders, but yeah, what is the charm of Monstrosities, do you think?
They are storybook monsters.
Yeah.
And so many storybook monsters kind of get at this archetype of nature going sideways.
Yeah.
Things combining in ways that you would not expect, that feel unnatural, which can lead to both
horror.
terrors, but also things that then once they're combined, it's like, oh, it's kind of cute, which that's part of the charm of the owl bear, because many of us like bears and we like owls. And so the owl bear is like the Reese's peanut butter cup of monsters. It's two things I like.
Quote that.
But then you have other monsters like the Drider, where it's a combination of a humanoid and a spider, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so I think this category is ripe with that. The Yuan-Ti, which is also
okay.
a type of monstrosity, another scary one. Humanoids combined with snakes. And what's interesting is when you look at this category, and I think you could do a psychological study on this. Often the ones that are most terrifying are the ones that are part humanoid, because it feels closer to us. Whereas I think the ones where some of us have stuffies are more just, it's two types of animals put together, and I like both those kinds of animals. Like the griffin is an example of that.
You should be scared of an owlbear, but consistently party members will try to befriend an owlbear.
Constantly, man.
I mean, but this goes to an interesting human thing in general. We should also, in life, all be terrified of simply bears.
Yeah.
Yes. But think about the human draw to having giving children teddy bears. We have as a species a fascinating connection with certain animals that
true.
Sometimes are animals that are super dangerous, and the bear is a great example of that. But for whatever reason, it's give me one. I mean, I have a stuffed owl bear at home. I do not have a stuffed Drider though.
Missed opportunity.
Did
Now,
Displacer
it's a creature
Beast
that's
is
not in
another
this
one?
book, but I do have to bring it up just because of the obsession, and this is a personal story, and maybe this won't be in this video, but my wife Megan's obsession with Spider Horse is ridiculous. It showed up in Dragon Magazine a long time ago. It was one of those random creatures, they had a whole category of extra monstrosities. No one should have liked Spider Horse. She is obsessed with Spider Horse to the point I had to give her the Dragon Magazine edition, the original one. And even the person who invented him reached out because she kept on tweeting about Spider Horse so much. That is the level of obsession people have with just combining.
Yes.
Because no one asked for a Spider Horse.
Well, we also all have, of course, different types of creatures that appeal to us in the real world, and then ones that don't. I know many people are terrified of spiders, whereas it sounds like Megan and I are similar. Spiders don't scare me. In fact, as a kid, I would have spiders like crawl in my hand.
No, that's the messed up thing. She's scared of spiders.
Oh,
It doesn't.
see,
If you slap horse on anything, I guess it's not scary. Like horse shark. I don't know. It
I
just
catch spiders and put them outside so they don't, so no one will squish them.
no. No. I used to love spiders, but I used to have a greenhouse where I lived on a farm, and I captured this really cool spider, and I had this cool little glass cage, but the lid didn't screw on. It was just a lay down thing.
Oh.
And I fed it. I'm not a psychopath, but and then I looked it up, and it's a black widow.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And
good
so I
times.
just put that in the corner of the room and left it there. And then many years later, I finally cleaned it out because I had so much terror of this cage. It was not in it.
Todd, it's hunting you to this day.
Probably inside me for some body horror.
God damn it, Todd.
Following around at night.
And that, everyone, was our video
Or
on
maybe-
monstrosities.
It's just waiting in the backyard like, one day, buddy. All right, thank you, everybody. That was our video on monstrosities. Totally on the rails. Thank you so much for watching this video. We will
All
have
right.
a ton more videos, all
That was something, huh? Boy, oh boy, that was certainly something. Yeah, it definitely was a more lively interview for sure. We cannot argue with that. But yeah, I mean, it's true. Mixing monsters are always interesting. I've done a couple of interesting ones. I did a flider in a game, right? So that was a flying spider. That was terrifying. A lot of people don't like spiders, so spiders that can fly is very terrifying. And I did Sniders, which was a snake spider, which also people hated. I enjoyed them very much, but I'm not afraid of either one. So like it doesn't bother me. I don't have some like primordial fear or aversion to either one of those creatures. So that's just me. But yeah, what did you guys think of the monstrosity video? Did we see stat blocks? No, but if we know anything that's happened recently, they probably released a stat block while we were making this video, this live stream, or while we were in it. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Twitter. So see. Interesting. Unrelated, while I'm going to look this up, I see that Kick is possibly looking to buy TikTok. That would certainly be something. And there's a new community update for Baldur's Gate. Okay. What was I doing? We were looking up Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lot going on all at the moment here when I just flipped over to Twitter. No, I do not see any stat blocks for monstrosities. They did release the full Gold Dragon stat block and the Empyrean Iota stat block. I have done a video on that. I just have not released it yet. That will be coming out at some point today. So you'll be able to see that. But yeah, apparently Kick is looking to buy TikTok, and there are bug fixes for Baldur's Gate 3 where you can try out crossplay with the patch 8 stress test. Oh, and you can go and register here for the patch 8 stress test is an option apparently. So yeah, and I guess you'll be able to try in the stress test, you're going to get to try out well, obviously photo mode, but I guess you'll also be able to test out the new subclasses, I guess, as well. Yeah, I'm excited because I also have to change because I added a bunch of those in mods, so I'll just have to remove them. So yeah, I guess you can go here and sign up for that stress test. I'm obviously going to do that because I want to try to get access to these subclasses early to see. What do I think of the full Gold Dragon? I I mean, I think it kept most of what made it unique and they added stuff. So I think in its particular instance, it is a general improvement. I'm not a huge fan of consolidating down all of the stat block or all the attacks of the dragon into just a rend ability as opposed to like bite, claw, tail. But I guess obviously you can flavor the rend any way you like. So, what else? Switch 2 was also revealed, or at least early announced today. That was something unrelated to everything, but cool nonetheless. And yeah, I heard Project Sigil invites were sent out. I reached out to WotC several times to say, like, I'll be your champion for Project Sigil. I don't have, like, a deep investment into a virtual tabletop, personally. So, like, I don't have, like, years and all this work put into a Foundry server where, like, I don't want to switch virtual tabletops because I'm going to lose all of that time and effort that I put in. So I told them, like, I will gladly be the champion of Project Sigil if you'll have me. I said prior to, excuse me, wow. Was the transition cause some buzzing? My bad. But yeah, minor or minus like more recent beta invites and stuff for Project Sigil. I had probably some of the most experience in that virtual tabletop over just about anybody else out there, with other instances where I'd gotten a chance to play around in it. So I would love to be the guy as like, I'll run a campaign. I've got a campaign going right now. I will gladly transition my Phandelver campaign from D&D Beyond maps to Project Sigil if you'll let me, and I'll have a weekly stream utilizing your virtual tabletop. But it's just, I haven't heard a single thing back. I'll send another email today just for the hell of it. But yeah, I didn't realize, I guess there's some buzzing associated with that transition. My bad. Yeah, I don't know what that issue is with that stinger. I'll have to play around with that transition, see what goes on with it. It might just be like an audio blip tied to it, or I might just have to turn off. Oh, here, we could just... I'm going to try the transition one more time. You guys tell me if it does the buzzing one more time. How we doing? Anything there? And we're going to come back. All right. Thank you for whatever messages you guys are sending my way. I appreciate it. It buzzed? Okay. I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to play around with it and figure out what that is. It's a new thing. I just started playing around with that transition literally today. It's cool. I really like it, but I'll have to see what goes on and why it does that. I don't know what that is. Like I said, it's new. It's a fun thing that I just decided to add, so we'll have to see what causes that issue to happen every time. I don't know what it could be, but we'll see. Oh, you know what? It might be interacting with a different thing. Well, either way. D&D 2024 Orange Wizard NPC stat block. I can give you my character's stat block. I can just show it to you. It's unfortunate. And this is a character, by the way, I play every Thursday night at around 9 p.m. Eastern time over on my buddy Captain Robert's Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/Captain Robert. By the way, if you look, he's live now, but he's live 24/7 because he's always running reruns and stuff. I'm on that on Monday nights as a Dragonborn, and I play this original character, Theodore the Orange, every Thursday night in our Vecna Eve of Ruin campaign, which will be live tonight. So you can actually see me in action as my Orange Wizard if you're curious. But that's that. But yeah, I could release an NPC stat block if you want. That's not a hard thing. The problem is people want to see my character sheet as a character sheet, and I could definitely do that, but this game has such heavy amounts of homebrew, like you're gonna question a lot of things about how that character is that strong. Yeah, I'm actually shocked, honestly, that they didn't go into... I thought the whole conversation was gonna be just the Tarrasque. was gonna be my guess, but apparently that's not the case. Oh, you guys want to see some fun stuff that just showed up today? So I showed you guys this had shown up, right? The Froghemoth Elder Mini. This guy, he showed up yesterday. As did this guy, the Red Ghost Dragon. But look what just showed up today. A brick of the Baldur's Gate WizKids minis. As well as, where is it? The Baldur's Gate characters, right? Like all the companions and withers. And what I'm most excited about, the adult Black Dragon Corruptor, which is the new 2024 art Black Dragon. So we're going to have unboxings and reviews of those very soon. Yeah, Jimmy, I believe you that they probably don't want anybody streaming it. And that's fine too. I understand that for Project Sigil. But like, I'd be ready to go as soon as it's possible to do that transition. So I understand that. But like, I know they were going to do, like, people did our early Monster Manual review, like, previews and stuff. Like, Dungeon Dudes and Dungeon Dad and all these folks did these kind of early previews. I've been saying I would love to be like the early preview Project Sigil guy. Maybe they'll have a dedicated video for all the Titans. That would be cool. We don't know what next week's videos are going to be, but it seems like we're getting 2 videos a week, one tied to, each tied to a different creature type. So we've covered dragons, undead, and monstrosities at this point. So that'll leave things like beasts, possibly humanoids as a separate thing, elementals, oozes, and so on, fae, fiends. They showed the art in the video, like in the background of the monstrosities. So we've kind of we haven't seen it like in full. We've seen like it kind of in like a slideshow in the background. Yeah, there's and they did release if you pre-ordered your all 3 of the books through D&D Beyond, they actually gave you a free digital art book that showcases all the dragons, which is really cool. I really like that. They did say that Tarask had some sort of answer to ranged attacks in a previous video, whether that's fast movement, teleportation, or some sort of ranged attack in and of itself. They have referenced that being able to sit at a distance and just plink away at the Tarask is apparently not going to be the end-all be-all way to defeat it. Especially the D&D 5e Tarask had basically the opportunity for you to just, especially if you were like a sharpshooter and had that 600-foot longbow range, you just shoot at a distance and that would pretty much take out the Tarask pretty easily. Maybe it can reflect, maybe it can absorb and reflect or redirect. Maybe it's a breath weapon or something, true Godzilla style. Who knows? I think a lot of us are leaning it's probably a breath weapon. It could be tossing rocks. That's another great option. It's a very giant thing to do, would be, throwing rocks. So that's definitely a possibility. But yeah, seemingly some form of arranged response. So that way you can, handle it to some degree. Okay. I've registered for the Baldur's Gate 3 Patch 8 stress test. And I can invite a friend for crossplay. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's a ways off from having any of this stuff officially, so yeah, I feel like you could probably tap into the full kaiju aspect and just really give it the breath weapon, lightning, radiant, whatever you want to make it. I was hoping we'd get 30 in all stats and proficiency in all saves with immunity to magic under level 8. You really want this Tarask to just mess people up, huh? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but... yeah, so far still no stat block. Maybe sometime today they'll release another stat block. Again, I will put out my video on the Ancient Gold Dragon as well as the Empyrean Iota. That video is already done and edited. I just need to release it, so I will do that at some point today, as well as I will get on making unboxing videos for everything except for the Baldur's Gate brick. I will do that as a live stream because they're randos. The Tarask sprouting wings would be wild. It is CR30. It is the most end boss. Should be a challenge for 20th level. Yeah, you're right. But I mean, even if that's the case, and you're saying like it should be immune to things under 8th level, you only ever get one 8th level spell, really, I think. One 8th level spell, one 9th level spell. So that's going to be pretty rough depending on who's fighting it. Force damage would also be a reasonable option for the Tarask breath weapon if it were to have a breath weapon. Tarask has monks deflect missiles. That would be pretty crazy too. Here, we'll paste this. Just here we go. Throw that right in the middle there. But anyway, yeah, so this was a good one. This was a quick one. It did seem to be, as many people said, a little bit more lively than a lot of our other streams have been, or these videos have been. I feel like a lot of them are very I don't know, what's the right word? Monotone? That's not the right word, but they're not like, it's not like a give and take and like a playful interview, right? It feels very like, not one, I don't know what the word is, not one-sided, but like it's not, there's not like a good rapport. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, cold is a good way to describe it. Sanitized. Yeah, it just, it doesn't feel like you don't have like a good banter and a good rapport. It always feels very, almost like clinical in a way. And maybe some of that's by design, right? So you're not accidentally giving away more than you're supposed to. But like, we're, I think, less than a month from the Monster Manual releasing. They're doing these videos. They're giving a lot of stuff. So we did learn a lot about Todd's fecal interest. That is very true. But like, it felt more real. And, you know, there's a fine line to be towed there, because when you make the interview too much about the interviewer and not about the interviewee, it loses a lot of value. If you're focusing too much on like the story's all about you, you will lose people that way because you're not keeping it interesting into the topic that people care about. So there's a fine line to walk when you're interviewing about like, oh yeah, from my home game or from this, that, or the other thing. That's definitely part of it. But being able to do that but integrate it and still keep it fun and still feel like you're getting information, this is a more well done interview, I feel like, because we had some fun, we had some jokes, we got some information, we got some, a lot of stuff. They tiptoed around that lycanthropy thing so much, and that bothers me. Like, oh yeah, everything you need to know about lycanthropy is in the stat block. It's in the blah, 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 blah. Why not just tell us what it does? Everybody wants to know, can I become a were-tiger? Can I become a werewolf? What's the reasoning? Like, how does that work? Because, like, we obviously had lycanthropy in the 2014 Monster Manual, and it gave you some, like, pretty solid things of just, like, setting strength scores at different things. With a Bullet Pup and a slowly falling owlbear, fun was the goal today. Yeah, you know what? The Bullet Pup, I want one. That is something that I never really thought I would say. Theodore the Orange is an earth-based wizard. He's a geomancer. I want to get him. a baby bullet now as a pet. That seems like a fun thing for me. By the way, why is the pinball machine lawful evil? Have you seen the price? No, it's the limited edition, but that's hilarious. I love that, by the way. Yes, a bullet pup named Jeff. Less about me actually wanting one as like a miniature or something. Like I just want to. I gotta convince my DM to give me one in game. Just you know what you guys wanted to see. Stat block. I'll go to Foundry. We'll pull up my stat block real quick. It's gonna be wild. You're not gonna understand it because I'm gonna have so much stuff, and you're gonna how you attune to so many items. It's just a nature. It's a heavily homebrewed game. That's the best I could tell you. If I already have a mini for it, yeah, it is harder to argue. I mean, it's an online game, so that's part of it. But yeah, I would 100% name it Jeff, without a doubt. Jeff, my baby land shark. If only I was a water-based wizard, then he could have his little water breath weapon. So in this game, to give you some context before I show you this ridiculous stat block, we have attunement is handled by like Diablo style. So you're slot based, not attunement slot based. Whereas in like you've got, you can have 2 rings, 1 necklace, 1 hat, 1 cloak, that kind of a thing. So that's how we handle attunement in this game. Another thing is I'll tell you, the games are ridiculously deadly, exceptionally powerful. Your day will get messed up pretty hard because these monsters are insane. Like the last combat we were in, we probably took out somewhere in the range of 1,500 HP worth of monsters. These monsters were immune to critical hits. They crit on an 18, 19, and 20. It's nuts. The games are, if you want to see a roller coaster of emotions in the form of combats, check out his games on his channel. Any of them. Obviously, if you want to see me, tune in to Thursday nights and Monday nights. He also does, everybody maximizes their hit points. So you're not rolling, you're not getting half, you're maximizing the hit points. And you get, every level that you get a feat, you get a feat and an ability score improvement. So +2 to a stat and a feat. Or +1 to 2 stats and a feat. So that's like very high level, give you an idea of what we're kind of dealing with when it comes to the overall gameplay, right? He was back and forth, like after the OGL, he kind of went to Pathfinder and then like made his way back because the players weren't a huge fan of it. It was before my time. But yeah, here is my stat block. It's nuts. We started doing like rolling for random loot recently, and that's led to some wild rolls. You're gonna see my stats and you're gonna lose your mind, but here we go. Ready? Here's my character stat block. That's gonna probably tell you more than you need to know, just right there. Off of that, I think you can see that. You guys can see that, right? I zoom in a little bit. Can I zoom in, actually? I can't zoom in because we're in Foundry. Yeah. Well, my strength was also a dump stat, but I rolled random loot and got a belt of hill giant strength. So I got the twin. Oh, that's another thing. Any of the stat bumping items, he does not do the low number. He always puts it at the higher number. So like it doesn't do 21. It sets your scores to 22, or like Gauntlets of Ogre Power will set it to 20, and so on. So that's part of the reason. So I found the belt of hill giant strength in our entire party has minimum 22 strength because we rolled on like some random loot and found so many belts of hill giant strength. Everybody's got a 22 strength at the party right now. I do speak Blink Dog, and that's part of his backstory. So we've got these Thieves tools. He does not have proficiency in Thieves tools. This is actually hacking tools because we went to Spelljammer for a little bit because it's a Vecna Eve of Ruin game. And this was apparently my ability to hack into the system. I was just, you can't make custom skills in Foundry. So, but yeah, this is where we're sitting at right now. Blink Dog actually do have their own specific language, so it's part of his backstory, but he does speak Blink Dog. No, he was not raised by Blink Dog, but he has a Blink Dog. His sister adopted a Blink Dog puppy and then left the puppy with his mother. And then his mother basically became obsessed with the Blink Dog puppy and treats it as his brother, and made him learn Blink Dog. So, um, that's true. All right, let's go into some inventory. All right. So this staff at the top, this is his primary staff. This is actually this is a combination staff of power, staff of defense. That's what this one is here. So, but in his game, we also bumped up all of the stuff from the staff of power to a +3. So all the stuff it gives you is a +3. We got there's a whole Mialiki side aspect of this, and then we got some other random stuff here, right? Wand of Binding, Wand of Pyrotechnics, Cloak of Protection. Probably the big ones that I rolled randomly, got super lucky, was I rolled Robes of the Archmagi. So that's obviously one of the big ones. And then Necklace of Adaptation. We got, obviously, this is me, so the Bottle of Boundless Coffee is a requirement. Good Luck Stone. I found a Tome of Understanding pretty early on. That's why my Wisdom is a 21 currently, not a 20. So I don't have anything to help me with charisma saves. I'm sitting at a solid +4, and I just have to eat it. I have a lot of things that are boosting all of my saves, like Robes of the Archmagi, like the Staff of Power, stuff like that. So my saves are pretty solid overall. I get the +3 Arcane Grimoire, +3 Wand of the War Mage. So I have a lot of decent things. I also don't know what I'm going to do with it. Somewhere down here. I have an Afridi bottle. That was a random pick. I rolled that one at one point. So I'm sitting on an Afridi bottle at a given point. I also have this guy. Where is it? I have a Spell Scroll of Wish that we came across. So that was a wild one. Don't know what I'm going to do with that. We get the Wand of Magic Missiles in here. Handful of various other nonsense. Oh, I have a Cubic Gate. So we're good for teleportation purposes at this point. Yeah, I didn't want this to turn into, like, let's talk about Ted's character, but so many of you asked, so I figured we'd just do a little show and tell, as it were. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff. Yeah. Well, he doesn't allow you normally to cast Wish. That's like part of, like, so Counterspell's not a spell in, like, monsters don't have legendary actions. Monsters don't have Counterspell. We don't have Counterspell. So it's like, that's a trade-off. And he says normally he doesn't allow players to have Wish as a spell, as part of just like the balance of the way the game works. But if you find it on a scroll, and I had to roll randomly to determine what the scroll was, and I lucked into the Wish spell. No, I suck at conversations. I have proficiency in persuasion, so like I got a solid +5. But no, we are mostly the analytical guy. All right, so then we have all of our features here. So as you may have figured out, we have Warcaster. We have, you can ignore this one, but Warcaster, Strixhaven Initiative, because he went to Strixhaven College, Resilient Constitution. We have Skill Expert History. We also we made a custom version of Elemental Adept for bludgeoning damage, because he's a Geomancer and Earth-based wizard, so a lot of his damage, almost all of it, is bludgeoning from a lot of the spells. And we worked a lot of the spells, reworked and customized a lot of spells to do bludgeoning damage. I could talk about those in a minute. So yeah, we basically have Elemental Adept, Bludgeoning, and then Prodigy, and then obviously part of the subclass, which is Tremor Sense. There's Grounded, which is essentially it's hard to no difficult terrain on the ground, hard to move you around. We have the Mantle of Stone, which is what basically is giving you permanent stone skin here, and the like immunity to petrification and stuff like that. And a couple other things. There's like some of this will fall into the spellcasting section, but like he always has like Melf's minute meteors prepared, and it has a little bit of a benefit where the more meteors he has, it can give a little bit of boost to AC that way. And he can also send the meteors off to like intercept if people get hit to reduce the damage. So he can like basically roll the meteor die. It functions like Melf's minute meteors, but essentially send it off to like help lessen the blow of an attack. And he also has like Stone Shape and Mantle or Meld into Stone always prepared, but he has an altered version that he can use of Meld into Stone where he can move while in the stone. It's like a once a day thing unless you spend more spell slots to do it again. But because you normally can't see when you're in Meld into Stone, but he has Tremor Sense, so you can use that to kind of like sink it to the ground and move through it. Would you say Pact of the Blade can be played like a Green Lantern? It could be. Yeah, unfortunately, D&D Beyond, that's the limitation of D&D Beyond, is you can only, like, up to 6, I think, is the max on D&D Beyond, which is difficult. So as you can see, again, we got a lot of these spells come from various abilities. And then we have a handful of custom spells. Stone Strike is just Firebolt, but does bludgeoning damage. Seismic Strike has an ability to, what is this, knock people prone, I think. It's just like a D8 knock people prone. I mean, Robert's games are you watch, you'll see that the games you'd think like, oh my god, this has to be so unbalanced. Man, we're fighting for our lives every fight. Let me tell you. Yeah, so like you'll see like some of these spells, like Churning Earth here is this is just a reskinned Arms of Hadar, right? Obsidian Flesh is just basically a reskinned version of Armor of Agathis. Terra Firma is a reskinned version of Hellish Rebuke, but they're all just earth-based. So that's like a pretty common thing you'll see on this character sheet. A lot of it, like Spike Stones, is Spike Growth, but it's stones instead. Just a lot of them are just thematically shifted. And then some of them are custom. Like I did make a couple custom spells. Like Clearstone is a rework of an older version of like a 3rd edition spell where basically you can pick a section of stone, and if you concentrate on it for the whole time, you can turn that section of stone completely transparent. It is still stone, but it is transparent stone, so you could use this to maybe sneak and peek inside an area, or you could also use this to just make like essentially an indestructible window. Let's see. Earth Bolt is just basically lightning bolt, but does bludgeoning damage. And then there's a handful of some of these other ones, right, that are different. Like Earth Launch is a little bit different. This is one that basically shoots somebody up in the air. And then you can like choose the trajectory. So this is one that you could launch an enemy potentially up in the air if they fail. Or if somebody is willing to let that happen, you can use it to launch an ally. We did this once to like launch the barbarian at like an enemy across like the battlefield so he could get in close to him. A landslide is basically just tidal wave. Stone Bullet Barrage is an original one. It's kind of based on Conjure Barrage, but it's actually the concept was based on Earth Dragon Bullet from Naruto. Like an earthbending jump, exactly. In Robert's game, can you hold person a Kenku? I bet you probably could. But that's another thing. So again, not to give away all of his secrets, but his monsters, all of his enemies have like tiers of like legendary, mythic, blah, 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 blah. And each one of those tiers means certain things. So like if it's like a mythic creature, right, it's going to have advantage on all saving throws. And he has like specific rules based on things that essentially shut down combat, things like banishment, things like holding, things like stunning strike from a monk and stuff like that. And it's based on the tier of the monster. So like this monster might be rolling with advantage, this monster might always roll with advantage. And like if it's a super high tier monster, like it'll be rolling with advantage, and for you to get the thing that's going to basically shut it down in combat, it's going to have to roll 2 natural ones, because it's going to have to nat 1 the roll, and if it has advantage, you're going to have 2 nat 1s. Now maybe you can silvery barbs to shut it down to a straight roll. It's going to have to nat 1 on that for it to affect it, but if it does, it is affected by it, and that's sort of the reward you get for basically taking something out of combat that would have been like a big bad. And that's usually how these works, right? His game's natural 20s and natural 1s are always true. So, it adds a lot of interesting fun that way as well. And then again, you can see there's a handful of Earth Shatter is just like a big kind of AoE spell. And Sand Coffin, again, I was in a very Naruto vibe, but where you can basically, almost like a Flesh to Stone, but basically you're sinking somebody into the sand and then eventually just suffocating them to death, trapping them there. That's pretty much it. That's the majority of everything on that character sheet. Be prepared for the buzzing coming back. See if we turn this off. If it... Actually, I don't know what's causing it, so sorry. Anyway, that's a little peek behind the curtain of our orange wizard that you may be asking for an NPC stat block for. Yeah, I don't know what's causing it, but I'll have to figure that out. Another thing that he also has in those games is if your wizard has a spell in their spell book, it's auto-prepared. You don't have to choose a number of prepared spells per day. If it's in your book, you can cast from it, so you have them. It very much benefits you to add a lot of spells to that spell book. Which obviously, as you saw, I did quite a bit of. So, but yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride. Those adventures, it is, man, it is just edge of your seat the whole time, because you never know what's going to happen. The fact that you've got like this natural 1, natural 20s always, sticking true means like I try to do almost entirely saving throw based spells, because I don't want to roll a natural 1, because like bad stuff's going to happen. But yeah, but I do like some of the things that he has. Like if you natural 20 on a concentration check, you don't have to make additional concentration checks. Like you're still concentrating on the spell, so you can't like cast another spell. But if you natural 20 the concentration check, you are you're able to maintain concentration without needing to make subsequent checks. Same thing with like every time you go to heal somebody, you roll a d20 whenever you go to heal. If you happen to there's no downside to it, but if you happen to roll a 20 when you're healing on that natural 20, it heals max damage or heals like maximum amount as opposed to rolling for it. So little things like that come into play quite a bit. If you natural 20 on a saving throw, you take no damage, but if you natural 1 on a saving throw, you take maximum damage. So little fun things like that really add to the swinginess of combat, which definitely gets a little wild, but it's a good time. No, not to see if you heal, to see if you heal maximum amount. You're going to heal no matter what, but if you happen to get a natural 20 when you roll that d20, it'll just heal for the max automatically without needing to roll. Right, so if it's 5d8, if you roll a natural 20, if you're doing like a Cure Wounds and it's 5d8 or something, and you roll a natural 20, you're going to heal for 40 as opposed to healing for 5d8. So it's just like a little benefit to try to see if you can max it. Same thing like you drink a potion. You're going to drink a potion, you roll a d20. If you get a natural 20 on that roll, you're going to heal for the maximum amount from the potion. But no, there's no downside to it. It's just, see if you heal for max. So like basically essentially doling out the Life Cleric high level ability where you just heal max without rolling, as a potential to happen every time if you crit on your heal roll, if you will. Yeah, being a we overheal and player chooses when to use it. Yeah, we've been toying around with the concept of like overhealing, rolling into temporary hit points, or being able to split overheals to transfer to somebody else. I'm not really sure where I landed on that. I have a magic item that the party hasn't unlocked yet. Is that if you overheal, any overheal turns into temporary hit points. So yeah, there's a lot of little things. Oh, another thing is if you crit or get crit, it ignores resistances you might have. So like if you have a fireball and you throw it against something and the creature makes a dexterity saving throw to try to dodge the fireball, if they roll a natural 1 on their dexterity saving throw, they will still take all the fire damage. Just like if you hit somebody and they happen to have resistance to slashing damage with your sword, but you crit, you're going to overcome that slashing damage, but that's going to work back against you as well. So that's kind of how things and it ignores immunity too, right? It'll ignore resistance and immunity. That's the sort of the play there. But it works. It's the big concept there is it goes both ways, right? So like if you're a barbarian and you're raging, you're resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage, but if the enemy hits you and crits, you're going to take that full amount of damage even though you have the resistance, but it works the other way around as well. Same kind of a thing. He is on Start Playing. So you could take a look there. I don't know what his timing, like what he's got as far as availability. I don't think there's too much because he's running like 4 or 5 games a week right now, but you can definitely give it a shot. So yeah, we affectionately call it Robear E because it's definitely not D&D 5e. It is a wholly unique system, essentially. Heavily homebrewed version. But you know what? The biggest thing that I've found is just ask. If you're unsure, like if how a thing's gonna work, is just ask before you do the thing. And that seems to alleviate, at least for me, like, hey, if I cast this spell on them, what kind of situation are we in? Are we in they have advantage and they can still fail, or are we in like got a nat 1-it or got a double nat 1-it, or what's the situation? And that seems to alleviate a lot of the confusion that I have, is I just ask the question, and if we're good, then we're good. And you know what? It's happened. We've gotten the enemy to roll a double nat 1 on like a banishment. Like I'll cast banishment and like, yeah, this could trivialize this fight. The monster's got a double nat 1, and they do. And everybody just lights up, man. It goes nuts when shit like that happens. So like that, but that's the nature of how they work, right? You're gonna be in it. People are in a bad spot. People are down. People are dying. It gets hairy. You'd look at like the character sheet that I showed and you'd be like, oh my God, he'll never die. And I fear for my life every combat we get into. So, and I'm the wizard, right? Like we're not even talking about the barbarian or the fighter or anybody else with all these sack of hit points. I'm afraid every fight we get into, and I'm not a weak character by any means, and I have a lot of tools in the toolbox. And like that's usually, and like a lot of his games, you'll just get into a DPS check mode. Like you got to do as much damage as you can to this thing before something happens or before it leaves or whatever the case may be. And if you can shut it down and stop it from leaving or stop it from doing its thing, great. But if you can't, too bad, you know? Listen, am I going to run my games that way? No. I'm not. I have my own way that I run games. You guys can see that on Wednesday night on my channel. And I do homebrew stuff in my games as well. Don't get me wrong. But, that's how he plays his games. And I'm down to play in them, and have fun with it. So it's just a little bit of a different way to go about it. So anyway, this was a very long conversation. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream now, go get myself some lunch. But yeah, I'll be live over on his channel again tonight. Who knows, if I get around to it, I might actually end up streaming the game on my channel as well, even though like his is the main channel, I'll just like also stream it on mine so you guys can watch it from my end if you'd like. But yeah, anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.